This is my presentation on brain drain. The two countries that I'm focusing on are India and the US. So, what exactly is brain drain? Brain drain occurs when a surplus of talented individuals leave a country and the country's growth stunts due to the loss of that skill set. There are two root causes of brain drain in India: economics and education. In India, there are a lot of skill sets that aren't valued economically. This causes a lot of people to immigrate to the US, finding jobs that outpay Indian companies. There are also caste reservations in India, which means that a majority of opportunities goes to a certain group of people. This makes it really difficult for lower class people to make it in India because there's just not economic opportunities, which causes them to come to the US. While some institutions in India are advanced, there are a lot that aren't. This also pushes a lot of students to leave India for better education in the US. So, what are the consequences of brain drain? Losing talent such as doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, which limits the innovative capacities of India. We could see in this chart that around 2 million Indians immigrated from India to the US total. We are able to approach brain drain through global citizenship, showing us the complexity of India's immigration problem and its relationship to the United States. Many successful and educated Indian immigrants in the US send remittances to India, which is an example of individual action, feeling this moral responsibility to support their family. This emphasizes the other-oriented thinking in individual action. Brain drain is also an example of cultural plurality from the cosmopolitan community, because it is very common in Indian culture to look at an Indian success in the US as cultural success, when in reality, it is an example of brain drain. So, what is my solution? My solution is to improve lower secondary education. We could see in these charts. So the completion rate of primary education in India in 2024 was around 98%. We could also see the completion rate in the lower secondary education is pretty good, with around 95%. However, when we go to the completion rate of the upper secondary education, we could see that it is only 50%. This shows us that the lower secondary education did not prepare kids enough to succeed in higher education. It doesn't prepare students well enough to compete. How would our solution accomplish one of the key aspects of global citizenship, which is the cosmopolitan community? It provides equal education and openness to others. It creates this foundation for all children, even from the lower class. This relates back to the caste system or the caste reservations because um, they give educational spots to some kids in lower class who are not who are then not able to compete with other kids because they fundamentally lack the opportunities. There is also more innovation. Our solution creates more innovation because it encourages creative thinking in young teens, which fosters this wave of entrepreneurs. This represents the cultural um, plurality aspect of the cosmopolitan community, encouraging young Indians to start businesses in India compared to the US. Um, so our first step to improving lower secondary education is to advance the curriculum by making critical thinking a better part of the curriculum. This sparks innovation and creativeness, um, allowing more entrepreneurship in India, lessening the effects of brain drain because it creates more entrepreneurs, which means that while some leave the US, there are a lot that stay. Another part is to fund more STEM programs abroad in the US, highlighting real-world applications. This prepares students to compete globally, allowing Indian companies to compete with the US with its new education. And it also gives Indians the ability to get higher education but still come back to India. Step two is to produce Step two is to increase the salary of teachers. This produces an influx of teachers because of the economic opportunities. There is a better ratio of students to teachers. We could see in this chart that in 2020, India had a student ratio of 27.4 to 1 teacher, while the US had a ratio of 13.7 to 1. It also convinces US teachers to come to India to teach because of the increased salary. So let's collect connect this solution with brain drain. Equitable education from improving lower secondary education allows more kids to be prepared for higher education, which evens the gap between classes, causing people to stay in India even from the lower class. Um, Innovation in India creates more economic opportunities in India from the influx of businesses, allowing Indian companies to compete with the US.